Hello, tea friends. This is Barb Gully of Barb's Tea Service, and I'm here with co-host, studio engineer, Arm Candy, Chris Gully.
Yes. Hi. Hello.
How are you today?
Feeling patriotic, as always.
Yes, that's kind of our theme today. Because we are on the 4th of July week.
Right. Yeah,
right?
The week, yep.
And we're going to be talking about a lot of things, a lot of ground to cover as usual.
Yes.
But we're going to spend a bit of time talking about Lapsang Souchong,
Nice.
the tea.
Okay.
And as I will quote the mask, it's smoking.
It is smoking. Smoking.
It's a smoking tea.
Yes.
And we'll talk about a little bit about the Boston Tea Party,
Yep.
about this smoky tea.
Mhm.
And then if we have time, we're going to wrap up
Yes.
with a gentleman's guide to tea sandwiches.
Wow. I'm feeling hungry already.
But caution, you don't want to say that. You don't want to appear too hungry.
No.
Okay.
No.
So let's, but first tea.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Okay, so today I am brewing up some Lapsang Souchong. And I purchased this one at Eli's Tea Bar in Birmingham.
Yes.
So I'm going to show this to the camera if you're watching.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's a black tea.
Mm-hmm.
And let's take a taste of this.
Mhm.
Did you sample yet?
I did. I'll do another one. So this, it's known by its kind of smoky taste. And you're gonna get into how it came about. And I was looking at my trusty tasting wheels, and I guess there's a kind of an unpronounceable name that I'm not going to even try.
Okay.
But maybe I will try it.
Be brave.
Impuramatic. Impuramatic. Smoked, grilled, burnt toast, grilled almond ash, wood fire, roasting bacon, tar. Now, my other one is a little more straightforward. It's just referred to as char.
Okay. What is that? The simplest definition is usually the best?
This is the best, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
okay.
Yes. Occam's razor
Yes.
of tasting wheels. Well, that's kind of philosophical.
Yes.
That was weird.
Well, this is a different,
Yeah.
very, very different tea.
Yes.
And it's not our first Lapsang Souchong.
No,
right?
no. We've had it from time to time. And I would say, I generally like it. It's very robust. It can be fussy.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on how it's prepared. Sometimes some of these teas are like drinking a pack of unfiltered Camel cigarettes.
Exactly.
So
reminds me of my grandparents' visits.
Yeah, right. But no, this is it's very it's very balanced.
Right.
Which is and Eli's always says very good selection.
It really, they do. They do. And I think it's a little divisive. People either like it or they don't. Sometimes they can't even get past the first opening. It's so strong.
It is, yeah.
But if you can just get past that and the flavors, it's very nice.
It is.
Someone very famous who loved Lapsang Souchong was Winston Churchill.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And he would put scotch in it.
Well, I get that.
So I think that might be another etiquette topic. Is
Yes.
it scotch in first or scotch in last?
Or both.
Or no tea at all.
All right.
Okay. So the reason I selected Lapsang Souchong because it was one of the 5 teas that was thrown overboard for the Boston Tea Party. Okay, there were 5 different teas.
Yes.
And the Lapsang Souchong, it would have been a Souchong. It probably wasn't quite as smoky as this one, but there was Bohea, there was Kongu, sorry, Souchong. Those are all black.
Right.
And then we have a Singlo and a Haisong.
Okay.
Those were green.
Right.
So those were all thrown over at the Boston Harbor.
Oh, that is historical.
Yeah, I think you probably have heard of it.
Yeah, right.
So back in December, this past December, we had an anniversary of the Tea Party.
Right.
250 years since the Tea Party.
All right.
And most of us are familiar with some of the reasons. Taxation without representation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Awful.
And
it was awful.
It was awful. And England had gotten in a little trouble with the East India Trading Company.
Right.
They were in some dire straits.
Right.
Needed some.
They were looking for revenue enhancements.
They were.
Yes.
And so they passed this tea act that was going to add a little duty onto the tea for the Americans.
Yep.
And one member of Parliament.
They were warned.
They were warned, he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, if you impose a duty on this tea, the Americans won't take it.
No.
And he was right.
He was kind of right.
He was. And I think it might have also been the source of one of Patrick Henry's famous quotes.
Which was?
Give me duty-free tea or death.
Wow. It's a little different than what I have come to know, but I'll go with it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So with Lapsang Souchong, where did it come from?
Well, China.
China, yes.
Based on the name, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Great. And this is one of those happy accidents.
Yes.
It wasn't at first deemed so.
Right.
But it turned out to be. So it started in the 1640s in China.
Yeah.
And it was in the Fujian region in the Wuhe Mountains.
Okay. I think that's next to Cleveland.
It's very, very south of Shanghai.
Okay. All right.
So during this time in the 1640s, we have the Ming Dynasty going away.
Right.
We have the Qing Dynasty coming in.
Spelled with a Q.
Spelled with a Q. You're right.
I know.
Right. Very good.
Yeah.
So this is the last imperial dynasty of China.
Right.
But what's happening here in our Wuhe Mountains is that there's tea farmers.
Right.
And they know that these Qing Dynasty soldiers are coming.
It's a change of regime. There's the usual shenanigans. You know, they got to install their guys and
exactly
and start their taxes and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So they are alerted to this, and the farmers are of course nervous. They're going to flee up into the mountains.
Right.
They don't want to confront these soldiers.
No.
So what they do is they take their tea. They have put it in sacks. And there's two variations of the story. So I'll give you the first one.
Okay, right.
First. So this one is they think to protect their tea. They don't know what's going to happen, so they smoke it a little bit to process it and hopefully preserve it.
Right.
Then they put it in these sacks.
Because they weren't sure when they were going to be able to come back.
Exactly.
Right.
So they flee up into the mountains.
Right.
And then the soldiers come in.
Right.
And
that's it.
They leave. And they come back. The farmers come back, and they're left with this really odd tea product.
Right.
The other version of the story, almost the same, except they don't smoke it before they go flee the mountains.
Right.
What they do is they package all the tea that they've harvested in sacks.
Right.
And the soldiers come, and they see.
And they're comfortable sacks.
They see these leaves in sacks. They're going to make a nice mattress.
I love it. I love that plan.
I know. I mean, can you imagine these guys are?
That's probably a nice smelling mattress too.
Yes, that's right. So they bed down on these these sacks, and when the farmers come back
after the soldiers leave,
they've left these tea mattresses are rank. They smell terrible.
They smell like soldiers, I guess.
Probably walked a long time, and maybe frequent baths. I don't know. I'm not judging.
Yeah,
but
right.
Probably not the best. So anyway, to get rid of this awful smell, they smoke it. They smoke it out.
Right.
So either way, they're left with this really odd tea product, and they've been selling it to the European market.
Yep.
the Dutch and the
Right.
English, and they know they can't sell this stuff locally.
The local merchants are saying, you know what? We got these guys. They'll buy anything.
Well, they're go between.
Yeah, right.
He's saying these Europeans will take it,
yeah.
not locals.
Yeah.
So they sell it to the Dutch.
What a scam! What a scam that was. The poor Dutch.
Oh.
Oh, but wait, there's more.
Guess what?
Oh no.
They love it.
As one does smoky tea.
Right.
Yeah.
So they request more
Okay.
of it, and
Didn't they feel stupid after that?
and the price went up.
Yes.
So yeah, that was kind of a nice little accident, and that's where the start of black tea is said to have come.
Okay.
So just to break down the pronunciation, so it's Lapsang Souchong. Sometimes you hear Lapsang Souchong.
Right.
But the derivation comes from the dialect of this region.
Right.
And La means pine.
Okay.
Song means wood.
Uh-huh.
And Souchong means small sort. That refers to the size of the leaves.
Okay.
But it's the pine wood, which wouldn't that make a great tea for Pemberley pines?
We have a lot of pines, and we've been known to make campfires out of it.
Exactly. So we just bring on the tea.
All right.
So how do you get that smoky flavor?
Carefully.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a lot of processing that goes
Right.
on, and there's variations of it, but basically the traditional method has it being processed in a smokehouse.
Right. Okay.
Now a lot of the Lapsang Souchong that we get has artificial smoke flavors.
Right. And I think you can maybe tell the difference between real smoked and kind of the artificial smoke.
I think so. I think it's just like with any other flavor enhancement.
Right.
When you get it organic, or
Yeah.
the real process, you can taste a difference.
Right.
So okay, and then how you would boil it, or how to prepare it, I should say, is you're going to do it just like a black tea. So you're going to boil your water to 212, but sometimes they recommend dialing it back just a bit.
Okay.
So 202.
Right.
Eli recommends 210.
All right. So just before the full boil, it's you're getting it's ready to go, but you got to stop.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
So those are just some of the the
techniques.
Exactly for brewing the tea.
All right.
Okay, so that's our little definition and talk about Lapsang Souchong.
That was great.
It was. It was.
I'm gonna have another taste.
I know. I think I will too. Smoke and.
That's right.
All right. So now we're going to go back to Bruce Richardson.
Yes.
So I don't know if did I mention him at the beginning?
I think you did. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So Bruce Richardson, some of these facts we got from the museum, the Boston Tea Party ships, and
he curated or he came up with a blend, right?
Right.
Okay.
So this museum, it's in Boston,
right?
Boston Tea Party Museum, and we are going to go there one of these days.
Right.
But they selected Bruce Richardson to make this special blend, which is called Abigail.
Yep.
And I have some on order, so I'll save that for a future podcast.
Okay, can't wait.
A lot that went into putting that one together.
Right.
So we haven't mentioned the museum, but we do know Bruce Richardson.
We do.
And do you remember the first time we met him?
Was that that was quite a few years ago. One of the was there a tea event or?
You know what? It was 20 years ago.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
It was 2004. That's just before I had launched Barbs Tea Service.
Right.
And we went to one of the first tea expos.
Right.
And it was in Rhode Island.
That's right.
And I do have a picture here of, I don't know if I can, this will show up on the camera.
Yeah, sort of.
That's Bruce Richardson back 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And he has an interesting story.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from him over the years.
Just as a side note, I think that event we went to, wasn't there a hurricane that had blown in just as we were arriving? So that made kind of.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
Now
I remember.
Yes. we had our hotel was a convention center, so we were connected to
we didn't have to brave the elements
right.
too much.
So I was like, hurricane or no, we're gonna meet Bruce Richardson,
there you go.
right?
All right.
So he was conducting a lot of classes, and he was there, and he had a really interesting story. So he and his wife Shelley had an inn in Kentucky.
Right. It
was called Elmwood Inn.
Yes.
And to sort of enhance the innkeeping business, they set up a tea room.
Right.
And the tea room, that exploded. That became their primary business.
Right.
And they were just so well known for their tea and tea knowledge. So what they did was they sold their Elmwood Inn, actually the inn and the tea room. And when I met him, they were just winding down.
Right.
They had sold. Their tea room had reservations a year in advance.
Right.
Because people knew this was coming.
Right.
So they sold that off, and now they just have a tea. They sell tea and they do tea education.
Right.
So.
And still in Kentucky, right?
It's still in Kentucky. Yes.
And
so do you remember the last time we met up with him?
Yeah. And we were coming back from some trip. We made a side trip to stop in. He's, and he's kind of the very gracious Southern gentleman type, and just a terrific guy.
Right. He really is.
Yeah.
He's just very genteel. And we were coming back from Florida. We stopped because they have their little retail shop in Danville.
Right.
And he almost looks like one of those folks who just wakes up in a suit.
That's right.
Or a sport coat.
Yeah.
So he is also a contributing writer to Tea Time magazine.
He is.
And he wrote an article. All his articles are interesting, but he wrote this article last year, and it was featured in Tea Time magazine. It's also on his website, or it was recently. And it was a gentleman's guide to tea sandwiches.
That's what the world needs.
It does. The time has come.
Yes.
Although when I was reading through his article, I thought, you could probably also do a talk on Gentleman's Guide to.
I'm a terrific consumer of tea sandwiches. I am.
You are.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's my secret power.
Is it? Okay.
No, not really.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, thanks for disclosing.
Uh-huh.
But I thought, okay, Chris, you've been on to so many afternoon teas. You know the ropes.
I do.
But not maybe everybody does. So Bruce Richardson wrote this guide. And it's part of his book that he co-authored called Tea and Etiquette. And he co-authored it with Dorothea Johnson.
Okay. And she's also a big name in tea circles.
She is. So she started the Protocol School of Washington. That's where I got my certification.
Yes, you did.
But she sold that business. It's still going.
Right.
But she sold it, and it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
She sold it in 2005. But she teamed up with Bruce Richardson.
Right.
And together they work on these etiquette programs.
Right. Okay.
So they wrote this book, Tea and Etiquette. But just a little bit of fun facts trivia.
Tell me.
Do you know who Dorothea Johnson's famous granddaughter is?
A famous granddaughter. I'm thinking Elves.
I think you
Rings
know.
of Power.
Uh-huh.
Blockbuster movie. Great works in English literature. Could it be Liv Tyler?
It is Liv Tyler. So that was a great way to get to that. Somehow.
That's what I do.
I think you knew who she was.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so her mother is Baby Buell. And she had a relationship with Todd Rundgren and Steve Tyler.
The technical term, I think, is groupie.
She was a groupie. And that movie that...
Almost Famous?
Yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of it. Almost Famous.
Yes.
The character that Kate Hudson plays is sort of based on her.
Right. Yeah.
Some other groupies.
Yeah.
Yep,
there you are.
That's quite a pedigree, isn't it?
It is. It's
all over the place. But anyway.
And all tea related.
All tea related.
Yes,
yes that's kind of different. But, okay, so now I think we're at the point where we can talk about these 4 rules, the essential rules for afternoon tea sandwiches.
I'm ready.
Are
I'm
ya?
ready for this.
All right. 4 gentlemen's.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the first rule, there's 4.
Yeah.
First one, never appear hungry.
Oh, man.
So, you know,
Okay.
when you said earlier that
Yeah.
just thinking about the tea sandwiches made you hungry,
I can't do that.
you can think it.
I can think it. I'll think it, but I'll appear calm.
Refined.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right, that's the first one.
All right.
The second is avoid embarrassing tea faux pas.
Now I'm nervous.
Okay. Yeah, they kind of upped it up a
Yeah,
little
I
bit.
know. Yeah.
So I think you're familiar with most of the tea faux pas.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And I've never really seen you air.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I wasn't watching close enough.
Yeah.
No. You're very civilized.
Uh-huh.
You're just like Bruce.
All right.
So you don't want to do the tea faux pas. You know how to,
Right.
not put the pinky out,
Right.
all these things.
Yeah.
But one of them, and I think this is something that gentlemen might do, or might be misguided. But when you see the sandwiches
Mm-hmm.
on the tray,
Right.
how do you eat a tea sandwich?
Well, it's a finger. I think we covered this in an earlier podcast. It's a finger food. Don't use chopsticks, forks,
Right. Right.
Scotch tape.
Where do you eat?
That's right.
In the garage.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're called finger foods
Right.
for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So most tea sandwiches you're going to eat with your fingers.
Right. Right.
However, if the place that you are at has maybe had a little bit more generous filling,
Yeah.
you can use a knife and fork.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it's better to avoid a mess
Yeah.
than adhere to these strict policies. If they don't make sense, don't
Right.
do it. Right.
You don't want that stuff like all over your face. And,
That's right.
all right.
Okay. So now, do you know the order of?
Yep. So, all right. Oh, I didn't know there was going to be a quiz, but here we go.
So there's 3.
Yeah, 3 trays.
3 trays.
So generally, the bottom one has your sandwiches, your savories, and that's really that's actually my favorite part.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then the next one are the biscuits and scones and the clotted cream and the jams and all that fun stuff. And then the top are the sweets, the dessert style items that you're going to get.
That is exactly right.
I get a gold star.
You do get a gold star.
Right.
That's right. So here he cautions
Yes.
not to go straight to the desserts.
No.
So I guess there's some folks who do that. Apparently, a lot of men will go right for the dessert.
What jerks.
So don't eat dessert first.
All right.
And then the final one is be a cordial dining companion.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
There's a couple things here to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
One is to eat at a comparable pace
Right.
with your companions.
Yes. Watch them like hawks. Oh, they're taking a bite. Oh, I got to take a bite now.
Yes. Something like that.
Okay.
You just don't want to, it's not a race.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of keep up.
All right. Okay.
And then the other thing is to engage in refined conversation.
As one does.
As you do.
Yes,
You excel here.
Yes.
You really do. Except for some of the Star Trek references. But
We all have. We all gotta go out there somehow.
that's just kidding, because actually your conversations are always.
I think the word is scintillating.
I think that's right.
All right.
Okay. So we have covered all the things that we wanted to talk about today.
All right. Very good.
And I just want to remind folks to come back to the blog.
Yep. It just occurred to me.
Yes.
This is actually our 13th.
It
podcast?
is our 13th podcast.
And I think a tie-in with the holiday is there were 13 tea-loving colonies.
Oh, that's so good.
Isn't that great?
I'm going back to that rule number 4. You are engaging in refined conversation.
Wow. Okay.
That's good.
All right.
Just threw that out there. Good. I'm glad you brought that up. For that was a good tie-in, and also to remind us that this is 13.
Yes.
Next one, we talked, it's going to be the 14th. We thought we might go to Louis XIV, might go to Versailles.
Okay.
And we were initiated as to the pronunciation of Versailles in Kentucky.
Oh, that's right.
Bruce Richardson said
yeah.
they call it Versailles.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. And the dispute rages on.
It does. It does. So when you're in Kentucky, you would call it
Versailles. Yeah.
Okay. So getting back to just a few reminders.
Right.
We have our blog. We talked last week about National Cream Tea Day. I did talk about that in our latest blog. And also that we have a website you can come visit.
Yes.
Email us.
Yes.
We'd love to get some viewer feedback.
Yes.
We always love hearing that.
Yeah. We're collecting a few for future podcasts.
Yep.
But keep them coming.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's just about.
Is it time for a certain?
I think it is.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, that's the tea kettle.
That is.
And it's telling us to wrap up. We're going to finish our last bit of smoking tea.
Without scotch.
Not yet.
Okay. All right.
That's right. It's still the morning.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, we'd love to hear from you, and we want to thank all of you for listening / watching. We want to thank On TV Studios for letting us be here.
Yep.
And to my wonderful co-host.
Yes.
Amazing conversationalist. I would have afternoon tea with you anytime.
It is refined, isn't it?
It is. It's so refined. All right.
Okay.
And as we like to say, please stay tuned.
All right. Here we go.